Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and for those of you who I've not had the pleasure to meet this evening, my name's John Rogers, and I am the treasurer of the President's Foundation. And so on behalf of the Foundation trustees, we want to welcome all of you here to the Reagan Library. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to welcome the Majority Leader of the House of Representatives of the United States, Kevin McCarthy.
Thank you very much. Very kind. Thank you. Don't go too long. You haven't heard me yet. So, I want to thank John. That's probably one of the nicest introductions I've ever had. I've been a big admirer of John's because he's never lost what Reagan taught him. And he's willing to make sure the torches continue to be lit. He makes sure the values of Reagan are taught in other places. When I walked into the green room, I was shocked. There was a picture of myself up there. There was a picture. I said, how'd you get that already? That's good staff work. I helped lead the 100th celebration, where we went to London, we went to Prague, we went to Budapest, we went to Poland. And they wanted to honor Reagan. They understood what Reagan talked about, the liberties and the freedoms. You saw firsthand the change that he had brought to the world. When I stood before there and they'd put statues there, I wondered who made sure those were there. John made sure and even paid for some himself. So I thank you for that, John, and the work that you do. Then I watched Ronald Reagan stand before a podium and say, no pastels, fly the bold colors, and go to that shiny city on the hill. I knew what he meant by the shiny city on the hill. That was America. I knew what he meant by that light. That was freedom. That was liberty. And I knew that light went beyond California and even went beyond Maine. When President Reagan spoke and he talked of the exceptionalism, they'd protest him in Europe. But on the other side of the Berlin Wall, they celebrated him. Those words inspired shipyard workers in Poland to rise up. Those are the words that inspired me. Don't you all believe that shiny city on the hill is America? But don't we also agree that that light has been dimmed a little? I love America because I love its people. So the task before us is to join together, to climb that mountain and recharge that light so it burns brighter than ever before. And God willing, together, we will do it, just as we did in 1980 under the leadership of Ronald Reagan. Thank you and God bless.
Good evening, Congressman McCarthy. It's a great pleasure to hear your eloquent speech because not too often we can hear speeches made about President Reagan in such a compassionate way. The last time I heard them was in Warsaw, Poland, that you mentioned in 2012, when I had an honor and pleasure to participate in unveiling of the monument of President Reagan in the country that still remembers its legacy. Today, as an American citizen, I also want to remind another legacy of President Reagan that seems to be a little bit forgotten, but there is a big chance to resurrect it in our state, not too far away from you. I am currently a CEO and a founder of California Space Center, which some of you might not know. Some of you might know that in 1983, President Reagan donated an incredible piece of land outside of Vandenberg Base to build California Space Center. It's happening, and I just want to mention it to you that there is a huge opportunity to also resurrect jobs and bring new space technology into this part of Central California. And I hope that you will find the time for us in Congress because we'll have to get an acceptance of Congress on a couple of land movements. but President Reagan was a huge champion of space program. My final question to you, it's a very patriotic question. NASA was a beloved program of President Reagan. Recently, we've seen nothing but significant cuts to American space program, which is also something that protects us, our military and freedom. Why is it happening? And what can you do as a majority leader to give NASA and the space program a chance? Thank you.
Great question. When you first spoke with that accent, I thought you were from Texas, but you were correct. And Steve Knight and I will work very close on dealing with, I've given you credit for your father, sorry. His father was the fastest man in the world, so we never forget him. Dealing with this. I represent Mojave. The saddest part that we have today, Reagan talked about going to space and people laughed. Look what the space shuttle was able to do. Today we go to space, we pay the Russians. And Putin continues to raise the price. I'm actually authoring the bill for commercial space flight. I think there's a combination. I think NASA is actually also working with SpaceX and others. I think there's synergy in both of them. But we gain with our investments. You know, you all have a smartphone, right? Have you ever thought of the technology in that phone? There's more technology in that phone than Apollo when it landed on the moon. And today's battles are much different. You know, there was a warning today that there was space material, didn't know where it was fall because of what Russia was doing, what China and India are doing in space. We succeed because we innovate and we have the rule of law. Space gives us the right and the ability to innovate faster. And I think it's a good investment of where we go. I think there's a combination of doing both. I look forward to working with you.